first and foremost, I always recommend doing an annual detox. We call it a Panchakarma. And basically, you clean out the toxins that are accumulating in the body through just living your life throughout the year. Going out to restaurants, enjoying times with friends, having that glass of wine, going to birthday parties. Everyone needs to live their life. They need to live it happily, enjoying it within moderation, obviously.
Hi, I'm Lynnis Mullins, and I love to help women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. So come on, let's vibe. It's important. I think it's really important for women over 40, especially, to take charge of their bodies. Because, when we're raising our kids and just getting married and doing all the things that you do leading up to that, our bodies aren't always necessarily our own. Our bodies many times house little beings, or our bodies are busy stooping over and cleaning up and doing all the different stuff that we do. And then, of course, there's always when you first get married, you know what happens with that. And so at some point, especially after 40, I think women begin to start thinking about, okay, what else is there and what else should I be doing? Because I feel like maybe something is missing. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that today is because I just want women to feel empowered to take a look at different ways of being when it comes to taking care of themselves. We don't necessarily have to do traditional medicine. There's nothing wrong with traditional medicine, but sometimes we might need a little something special, or we might find something that really resonates with us. And my job in the V.I.B.E. Living Podcast is to introduce you to alternative ways to be well in your mind, body, and spirit. And today we have with us an Ayurveda practitioner. She's going to tell us what that is. Her name is Sondra. Sondra, I am so glad that you are here today to explain to me and everybody else what an Ayurvedic practitioner is. In fact, I told her as we were getting ready to come on, I've always struggled with pronouncing that word. Sondra Rubin is a National Ayurvedic Medical Association Board Certified Ayurvedic Practitioner, and she completed her studies at Southern California University for Health Services. She's written a few books, and one is called the Ayurvedic Practitioner's Resource Guide, a mind map guide to help Ayurvedic practitioners. So she really knows her stuff. She's passionate about being a healer and an educator, and she loves to be able to work with women. In fact, one of the things that we're going to talk about today is how Ayurveda could possibly help women over 40, and in particular with the whole hormonal shuffle that all of us are doing. Sondra, welcome to the V.I.B.E. Living Podcast. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to have you because I'm pretty sure I have not talked to an Ayurvedic practitioner that teaches other Ayurvedic practitioners. That's pretty special. So tell me, how did you get into this? How did you get introduced to the whole idea of being an Ayurvedic practitioner?
Yeah, well, I feel like my whole path will probably resonate with a lot of the other practitioners or natural health practitioners that you probably encountered, where we had a huge mountain to climb as far as, getting ill, just coming down with some kind of chronic illness and looking for a solution to maintain their health in a way that wasn't going to be completely toxic, taking tons of prescription medications and have these horrible side effects. And so I was in that same exact boat. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called lupus in my early 30s, completely out of the blue, just not realizing my diet and lifestyle was really basically creating this environment for chronic illness. And so when I was given the diagnosis, I refused to take the medications that they wanted me to go on, which could potentially cause blindness and shorten my lifespan by 20, 30 years. And I started to look for a natural solution. And so I found Ayurveda, and it stopped the progression of my disease. And so after I saw the impact it had in my life and my family's lives, because obviously, once you become aware, once you learn about how natural health can look like for yourself, and then you share it. You share it with your friends, you share it with your family. It's contagious, just like illness. Okay, so health is contagious, and that's what I did. It resonated with me. I changed professions and I became trained as an Ayurvedic practitioner. So I used to be a CPA, and I took the training extremely seriously. And that's why, I wrote the book that I wrote, because I feel like my brain is wired a certain way as an accountant. I like things to be organized. I like things to be mapped out. I like to break things down in a very simple way to be able to explain to people, So that's basically how my brain works. And that's how I organize my book to help practitioners learn Ayurveda, which is a very complex science
Yes.
that's like, over 5,000 years old, encompassing 8 branches of medicine, which is from psychiatry, ENT, surgery, toxicology, aphrodisiacs, pediatrics, internal medicine, and geriatrics. So it encompasses a ton of information, not all in that book, but that's what Ayurveda is. And there's a lot of ancient Sanskrit terms, which are, really hard sometimes to learn. And so just being able to break it all down and in a very clear format is what I did. But I know that you'd mentioned, a little bit about Ayurveda
Yes.
as
Well,
far as.
in fact, tell us what Ayurveda is, and also how does it differentiate from, let's say, traditional Western medical practice?
Yeah. So Ayurveda is a form of natural Indian medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old. And it uses diet, lifestyle, herbs, and detox to help rebalance the body naturally from chronic illness and disease. And how it is different than Western medicine is we really like to treat the root cause of what's going on in the body in order to handle the disease. So Western medicine really treats the symptoms. So if you're coming in and saying, I have a skin condition, I have, eczema, or I have cystic acne or psoriasis, they're going to give you topical steroids. They may give you some antibiotics or steroids internally. And although that may help the symptoms, it's not really going to treat the root cause of the illness. So what happens is that disease progresses. And the disease can actually, because you're not actually stopping the disease, which is a dysfunction from an Ayurvedic perspective, it's a dysfunction of the blood, of the digestive system. And there are a lot of imbalances going on in the body by the time you have a skin disease. Because Western medicine doesn't treat that, it's just treating the symptoms of the skin being irritated and applying something to stop that irritation. What happens is a lot of the times people with skin conditions end up getting progressively worse chronic illnesses, whether it's digestive disorders or, they just continue to deteriorate in their health because they're still not treating the actual root cause of why they have this condition. And so Ayurvedic medicine really prides itself in being able to stop the progression of disease and also to help and heal just healthy people, just helping with health promotion. And so that's the difference between Western medicine and Ayurvedic medicine.
I love that because I always talk about all the time when I'm explaining some of the issues around Western medicine is that it really is, especially our system of health here in the United States, is really based upon getting you just well enough for you to function, but not necessarily curing. And definitely with the idea that you will be back because they never peel back the layers to get to the causation of what's going on. And Ayurvedic medicine is all about getting to the causation of something, which is really so important and such a wonderful way to live. And I can relate to what you were saying, wanting to find something that was natural to heal with what you were going through. My story is similar, but in a different modality. I had an anxiety disorder and I did not want to take any pharmaceuticals. And it was during my journey to figure out how to handle my anxiety that I found out about the mind, body, spirit movement about almost 16 years ago now. And I left corporate America and decided I was going to hang out my shingle. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, Sondra. I did not know what I was doing, Sondra. I really didn't. All I knew was that I had a passion to try to get the word out that you do not have to go into your doctor's office, lay down on the table and say, okay, what's wrong with me? You want to be an active participant in what's going on with your body. And you want to go in there equipped with other kinds of information besides the traditional information, which basically ends with whatever you say, doctor. No, that is not how we need to be doing it. And that's why I was so excited to have you on. Now, let's talk about the favorite topic that women love to talk about, but don't talk about, if you know what I mean, because you don't know where to start. It's so funny when you're in a room full of women and you kind of start talking and they're all, around in their 50s or whatever. And someone will say, oh, hot flash. And then the next thing you know, everybody's, oh my God, do you have them now too? And then everybody's exchanging information about these hot flashes, because in many cases, these were conversations that we didn't have with our mothers, not in my generation. I'm 67. My mom never talked to me at all about, she talked to me about periods, but not menopause. It just didn't happen. That's changing a little bit, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about how Ayurvedic medicine helps us ladies who are having these hormonal conversations.
Yeah, so I love Ayurvedic medicine to help balance female hormones because that's what I use. I I'm not a big fan of chemical hormone replacement therapy.
Oh my.
Okay. And I love the way, doctors and oh my gosh, I feel like gynecologists and, nurse practitioners, everybody is on this bandwagon of let's just give them some type of hormone replacement and there you go. Like you're rejuvenated, you know, but
Yeah.
there are side effects. There are side effects that they don't tell you. There are risk factors and I mean complications and then you're in a different boat because now you're dealing with this side effect or now this issue that you didn't have before and you're still dealing with your
And you
hormones,
still,
right?
well, that's what happens with pharmaceuticals. It fixes maybe the symptoms for a minute, but then next thing you know, you're dealing with the symptoms of the symptoms as a result of taking the medications. And that's why you see with some people who start out with 2 medications and then 5 years later, they have 10 medications because of all of the side effects. And that's the part that's scary about the hormones. Now, it's interesting because you mentioned that, okay, I'm not into chemical hormone replacement therapy either. I managed my menopausal symptoms naturally and did pretty well until I got to about 64. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I had this unexpected weight gain and an extra butt in the back, and so I had to kind of change up some of the things that I do. And now I'm beginning to get in control of that. But what are some of the things that is taught in Ayurvedic medicine when it comes to managing your hormones and keeping them balanced?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I always recommend doing an annual detox. We call it a Panchakarma. And basically, you clean out the toxins that are accumulating in the body through just living your life throughout the year, going out to restaurants, enjoying times with friends, having that glass of wine, going to birthday parties. Everyone needs to live their life. They need to live it happily, enjoying it within moderation, obviously, with what you can and cannot eat, knowing that there are some limitations. Well, we don't want to aggravate any situation and just eat it just because. So being mindful and, throughout the course of the year, we accumulate toxins in the body. And so doing an annual cleanse helps to basically reduce that toxic load in the body so that if you are experiencing any type of hormonal changes, the body's able to handle it. It's able to absorb it, rebalance and adjust. But if we have all these toxins, in our body, and then you're going through some normal hormonal shifts, which from an Ayurvedic perspective, we're supposed to go through these changes at certain times in our lives. And now you're adding another layer of something that needs to be processed and changed. And the body's is like, I can't do it anymore. And so then what happens is we start to see these negative effects of the changes, okay, of these hormonal changes. We'll start to see the hot flashes that are unbearable, meaning like people are having like, your whole pajama is sweating,
like you're on fire.
Yeah. And so we don't want those extreme swings, right? Like we want to be able to shift gears like you're riding a bike, right? You want to be able to shift gear, fully lubricated at the right speed, at the right time. You shift the gear and it doesn't go clunk, clunk, like it's going in smoothly.
Right.
Okay.
Nice transition. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ayurvedic medicine loves to use detoxification procedures to help with that. And then again, also using diet, making sure that your diet is appropriate, not eating foods that are considered incompatible. So from an Ayurvedic perspective, we consider foods that are like, I would say the easiest rule of thumb that I give to my clients is to have one protein per meal. Okay. So if you just eat one protein per meal, the chances of you eating something that's incompatible from an Ayurvedic perspective are significantly reduced because, you shouldn't be mixing multiple proteins. They're just harder to digest. And you're just kind of putting a giant bomb in the stomach and just saying, digest it, but if your digestion is a little bit weak, then you're really setting yourself up for metabolic toxins to form in the body. Another rule of thumb is to never mix yogurt with fruit because from an Ayurvedic perspective, that creates toxins in the gut because they digest at different times and they ferment and then they create toxins. So, using those rules of thumb, and I feel like that would kind of eliminate like 90% of what you should and shouldn't eat together from an Ayurvedic perspective. We have all these rules. So following incompatible food guidelines is really important, and taking care of your self-care, right? So in the sense of, I want to say, people in today's day, everyone is in a rush, everyone is late for work, everyone is running around, and we never take that moment to basically reset. And I'm sure you've heard of the circadian rhythm, people, who are just completely disconnected because we're living in cities, we're not in nature. So just waking up at the right time, going to sleep at the right time, staying in balance with those very simple things will really help the body to perform the way we want it to perform. If you're staying, awake till like 2:00 in the morning and waking up at 6 and going to work, and this is your day in, day out, eventually, your whole system is going to be out
It's
of
going to
balance.
shut down. There's something that you said that's really interesting, and that has to do with detoxification. I don't think a lot of people realize that detoxification can help with balancing hormones. Could you give us an example of a detox that would be Ayurvedic?
Yeah. So we have a detox called a Varechana. And what that is where you take herbal ghee internally for about a week in incrementally larger doses every single day. And what that does is that the ghee mimics the metabolic toxins that are in the body. So it knows exactly where to go. So for every single person, they develop toxins in different areas of their body into the weakest tissues generally. So for some people, it can be in their breast tissue. For some people, it could be in their uterus. For some people, it could be in their joints. And so depending on, your body and where those tissues are that are weak, the ghee goes directly there. It knows exactly where to go because from an Ayurvedic perspective, we consider is like increases like. So what that means is the ghee itself is oily, heavy, and that mimics just like the same, like the toxins that are in the body. They're
Mhm.
heavy.
Well,
But
like fat holds. That's where the toxins live. That's where
yeah,
they hang out and party.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
do
So
eat the system, and it goes right to, birds of a feather.
yeah,
Right.
exactly,
They
exactly.
have an oily party.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they go right there. So when it goes there, it sits there and it soaks it. It's like soaking a pot with like soap and water. So it goes onto the toxins and it sits there. We leave it there for about a week. It's soaking. And then we're basically we're all eating internally. So we're doing this all internally.
Mhm.
And then we do an external application to the skin also. So we take herbal oil, we put it on the skin, and then we also put herbal steam. And so it's called an abhyanga. It's a very specific procedure where we treat the external body as well. So we are treating internally and externally. So now the body is like ready. It's fully prepared to release the toxins. So on the following day, we give purgative herbs and we purge out all of these toxins through the bowels, and the body is ready to release it. And that's what I love about Ayurveda. It is it is ready to release these toxins. It's not invasive. It's not, this really harsh detox where people are starving to death or anything. During this
It's
entire
so
week, you're
bad in so
still,
many ways.
yeah, you're
I have not, I have to be honest, I have not had an actual Ayurvedic, here I go with that word, detox, I don't think, because I'm writing down these things and think, okay, I know what some of these things are, but some of them, like for instance, the herbal steam, is that what you said it was? Yeah, don't know what that is. So for someone who's listening to this podcast, do you work with people virtually to do these things?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So if someone doesn't have an Ayurvedic practitioner in their area, I have them basically, I supply them with all of the herbs that they need and the steam tent that they're gonna need, and they follow the procedure. I have like an online YouTube link that gives them the self abhyanga that they perform on themselves. So basically I walk them through the whole detoxification procedure. So it's such a gentle process. And but basically, once you clean the body, then after that, we start the rejuvenation process. So any of the herbs that we use after the detox
Mhm.
go directly to where we need it to get to without this layer of grime on there. And it
Right.
can really support the tissues. So, you just have more vibrant skin afterwards. The joints, they're not like creaking and painful or inflamed. A
You,
lot of people,
do you
yeah,
lose some of the leftover weight that doesn't belong
yes,
there? I mean, you
yes.
don't do it just for diet, but the body just regulates itself. So whatever isn't needed for your frame, you'll probably lose some of that.
Yes, yes. I love to use it sometimes when women, kind of hit a plateau with their weight loss and they just feel
Mhm.
like they can't lose anymore. Then I'll usually say, okay, well then let's do the detox, and then after that they'll just go back
What
on
about
to,
another thing that happens with women, midlife women, especially going through menopause? They have a tendency to have problems with sleep, focus, and clarity. How does this detox impact that?
yeah. Well, those are all toxins in the mind.
Mhm.
So it really helps to clear it up. So generally, I recommend to do it once a year, but there are certain chronic illnesses where I recommend it a little bit more frequently until we could do it once a year. And if I'm doing any major project, and I already know that, so from an Ayurvedic perspective, you're supposed to do this type of detox around end of September, beginning of October, okay, in the fall season. So it'll be maybe like August, September, and I'm already starting to get a little bit bogged down,
Mhm.
like, memory or just fatigue. And I already know I'm like, I'm ready to do this detox. I'm getting ready because then
I'm
afterwards,
ready to do it, and I haven't even
yeah,
done it. I
it's
can
great. Yeah, I know
hardly
because then
wait
you
to
could,
find out more about how to get it. So I'm hoping that what we will do, because on the show page, all your links are going to be there. The link to your YouTube channel that talks about this, and also the link to be able to make an appointment with you and to find out about the products that we need to get to do this detox, because this sounds lovely. Now, you do it once a year in general. But are there other kinds of things that you can do during the year from an Ayurvedic perspective to stay healthy? What are some of the other things that you work with your
Yeah.
clients?
So if there's no specific symptoms and you're just dealing with, if you just want to lose a little bit of extra weight, we make sure that the digestion is strong and going through your diet and making sure that you're eating foods that are appropriate for your body type and your lifestyle. Like I'm not gonna, you know, require you to eat oatmeal if you hate
Right.
oatmeal.
Or
Like
require you to eat just grass or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I tell my clients that all the time. I'm not anti almost anything. I'm really not for pork, but I'm not anti a lot of things because I realize our bodies, different people need different things, and also culturally and everything else. But if you could figure out a way to eat the healthiest within that parameter, that way it's easier for you to stick to a healthy diet if you're eating things that are familiar, that kind of fall within the realm of what you're used to. Let's talk a little bit about the food combining. I find that
Yeah.
fascinating. I didn't know I was eating Ayurvedic when it comes to the yogurt and the blueberries. I must have learned that somewhere along the line because I don't do it. I have my
Okay.
I don't eat them together. I don't even eat them in the same meal. Yeah, I'll eat. Usually berries are like a snack or something like that I'll eat, but I don't combine it. But what are some of the other food combinations that aren't necessarily the best?
Yeah. So, ooh, okay. Fish with dairy. So that is something where people get into this habit of eating like tuna melts, or sometimes there's some fast foods that serve, fish with cheese on top.
Cheese on everything. Yeah,
I know,
right.
cheese is on everything. Or even like some of like the seafood dishes with this creamy sauces, these Italian dishes. That is contraindicated from an Ayurvedic perspective. So we want to leave dairy and fish and seafood separate because we really see a lot of skin issues developing when we see that combination. Another popular, I want to say, I feel like anything in the Western diet that's going to have like bacon cheeseburgers and any of those things we want to avoid. The fruit, yes, we want to have it 30 minutes either before or after a meal. So give that time to have some of that digestion happen with your meal and then have some fruit. We don't want to ever have fruit with your meal. And that is very common. People have like cottage cheese with fruit, or they'll blend together their smoothies
Right.
with, oh my
Smoothies is
gosh.
like one of the worst things ever. It's so funny. People's like, I drink a smoothie every day, but I'm not losing weight. In fact, I'm gaining weight. I'm like, well, what are you putting in your smoothie? All the fruit,
Yeah.
sugar, and all that.
Fruit with the vegetables. Fruit with
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah,
vegetables.
fruit with the spinach or what? Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I always try to just have them separated because then it's just easier to digest and we're just digesting fruit or we're just digesting vegetables. And a lot of it is even eggs. Eggs shouldn't be, combined with, like the burrito wraps, it should be alone, right? I feel like as long as you stick to that rule of thumb of one protein per meal, you're golden. Like you don't have to think about what all the rules are. But yeah, so it's mainly combining, like they'll say, like, no potatoes with cheese and things like that. Like, so as long as I know that's horrible, right? Everyone wants, so cheese is also another one where like you kind of want to eat it with like a cracker is
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
but like don't get into like the jam and the cheese and the
Yeah,
and
I
that.
just kind of in general stay away from cheese, and I'm not lactose intolerant, but there comes with it so many other things that with the fat content and everything, and it's hard to find really well-made cheese. And well-made cheese is super expensive. My husband is a cheese eater, and he got one of those, blocks of cheese, but that size, $22. Really? Is it really
Wow.
that important to you? So, and it's not even that good for you because you do have some little lactose intolerance there. I don't get it, but that's great information to know. Now, I was going to ask you also when it comes to immune systems, what is the Ayurvedic approach to enhancing our immune systems? We're kind of
Yeah.
going out of the viral time at this
Okay.
recording, but these days
Okay.
it's kind of like the virus just stays, different viruses come and go all year round now. So from an Ayurvedic perspective, what can you do?
Yeah. So I love to use different Ayurvedic blends for immune support, but generally I feel like as long as you're using this detox once a year, I feel like you're so out of the woods. It's ridiculous. I even do give it to my kids. My kids are 11 and 13, and this is the first year that they did their detox. And I did a mild version for them. And knock on wood, but they haven't been sick since. Okay, so it's been now 4 months and they haven't been sick. But before that, my older daughter was getting sick maybe like once a month. And this was like unheard of. She was like the powerhouse in the family. She never got sick. And I noticed her immune system slowly starting to deteriorate. And of course, 13 years old, they're going to eat tons of candy and she loves sweets, but it reset her entire immune system.
Oh, yeah.
And I also love, for me personally, I love all of the mushrooms, right? The reishi mushroom, the long, the turkey tail mushroom, the cordyceps, shiitake, lion's mane. I love that blend.
All the shrooms.
Yeah, all the shrooms. I love using them for immune support. So I generally make a coffee. Well, I call it a coffee. I don't drink coffee, but it's a teachino. It's a tea kind of coffee blend that's with chicory that you can get on Amazon. And I put in my coffee the mushroom blend with a little bit of cocoa powder and a little bit of coconut sugar. And that has been, and I use a little bit of heavy cream. And that has been my replacement for coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me the energy. It gives me immune support. It gives the sweetness and all that warmth.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but I've seen a lot of mushroom coffee type thing for weight loss and all that kind of stuff. I haven't tried it yet, but I like that recipe. Now, I know you've written books. Have you written any books for lay people, and where can they get them?
Yeah, no, I definitely wrote a book, What to Eat for Eczema, to help people who are suffering with eczema. And then I'm just about to release a book on Amazon in the next few days. It's called Vedic Detox, Stop PCOS, a 14-day detox to balance female hormones. So yeah, so it's not just for PCOS. Yeah, and it can be used just for any female to follow that exact protocol so you can rebalance your female hormones. I feel like women need this support. Women need to know what they can do to reset their female hormones, ignite their libido, start their metabolism, get everything good to go, and just keep our uterus clean.
I love that. Well, I could talk to you for a good 2 or 3 hours. It's a Friday night, and I don't even feel like doing anything else but talking to you about this because I find it so fascinating. And for those of you who find it fascinating, all of you should definitely check out the links on the show page and how you can reach out to Sondra and also find out more about, adapting an Ayurvedic lifestyle, incorporating that over time into your lifestyle because it is a healthy lifestyle. And there's some things that are different about it, but what the heck? Why put a little spice in your life? Literally, put some spice in your life and start living the Ayurvedic lifestyle. Sondra, thank you so much for being on the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. It's been wonderful having you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you also to all of you for listening. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment about this podcast. I want to know what you think about this podcast. Are you going to go Ayurvedic? Are you going to join me? Are you going to do that detox thing? Let me know what you think about the podcast, and make sure you listen to the other ones as well. I am passionate about the idea of all women being able to vibe, to be more vibrant, more intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. That's why we have wonderful guests on like Sondra to help you get there. Thanks so much for listening. Have a fantastic day. And don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay. Thanks for listening to the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share this podcast. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.